Guys, we have to talk about a particular event that has the potential to shatter the entire crypto industry and derail the bull run. And yes, it does have to do with ordinals and a possible Bitcoin fork. And I think this one could even be more devastating than all the previous Bitcoin forks, including Bitcoin SV, even though, Craig Wright was really stupid and no one really believes him anymore. This one has much more bite to it than that, because a lot of people support ordinals. When they did like BCH and BSV, it was only a small part of people that supported them, but I think this one actually would have more people supporting it because there's a lot of people that like ordinals. As most of you know that watch my last few videos, the developers of ordinals do plan to kill ordinals in version 27, which is going to happen next year. And there's already rumblings of a Bitcoin fork. And this is very serious, people. Remember what happened when Bitcoin SV split off? This could be even more serious, and it could cut the Bitcoin price in half. Hopefully this doesn't happen, but almost seems a little bit inevitable now because the core developers want to kill ordinals by fixing a bug that's been there for several years that was never really exploited until now, because the whole inscriptions thing is kind of a mess. And they have a very good reason to want to kill ordinals because it kills the performance of the blockchain. And some of you are like, well, why can't they just move it onto Lightning? I don't really know if that's an option, guys, because Bitcoin ordinals, unlike other NFTs, the data is stored right on the Bitcoin blockchain. So I'm not really sure how successful it would have to be to actually move to Lightning, or can you even do that? If you're stuck with making ordinals on the main chain, it's going to take the chain down to 2 or 3 TPS, because each block of Bitcoin, as you know, is 10 minutes. And, well, it's around 10 minutes, not exactly 10 minutes, obviously. And it only has 1 megabyte of storage, and that defines its transaction price, unfortunately. Now, it's only 1 megabyte of storage, so storing a JPEG within that block would, massively increase the amount of memory it takes to actually make an ordinal. It also would keep ordinals under 1 megabyte, obviously, but still, you're talking about going down from maybe 10, 14 TPS to maybe 2 or 3 TPS. Bitcoin, as we know, isn't congested enough as it is, and adding that would be disastrous for the performance of the blockchain. However, who would support ordinals? Obviously, people that like ordinals, people that want to sell and trade ordinals, but there's also another big faction that could actually have power, and that is the miners themselves, obviously. They want to lock up a lot of fees for ordinals transactions, because the less TPS that Bitcoin has, the more money they actually make. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but if you really think about it, it's true. The less transactions there are per block, the more people have to pay to get their transactions prioritized. And therefore, because of that, they make more money by upbidding the transactions. That's just how Bitcoin transactions work, unfortunately. And people and big miners like Riot Mining are actually purchasing, $291 million worth of mining equipment for the transactions on these ordinals. They know that, purchasing that much wouldn't really be worth it if they just were depending on Bitcoin price, unless Bitcoin price goes to 500K or something. But it would be worth it if people are paying thousands of dollars to get ordinals transactions through, or hundreds of dollars. Remember, someone mistakenly spent $3.1 million in Bitcoin recently because of because of some kind of a transaction bug that bid up the price. Now, luckily, that person got his Bitcoin back. But what if transactions accidentally got up that high and they don't decide to give the transaction money back? They just get to profit, right? And lump this in with all the Bitcoin buys that are coming from big institutions, and you can see a giant traffic jam where people would have to bid up the price of transactions to hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars to actually get an important transaction through. And that's exactly what the miners want, because it makes them a lot of money. So there are miners and pools that would definitely support ordinals, because the people in those pools and in those mining positions stand to make a crap ton of money from these ordinals. So that's where you see this split can happen. Anyone can fork Bitcoin. No, we've had hundreds of Bitcoin forks. It's just that you can't get people to support your Bitcoin fork, so it ends up being worthless. This is not the case when there's such financial incentives involved. Imagine 2 or 3 pools. They're getting hundreds, thousands of dollars per 10 minutes from these ordinals trading, and you all of a sudden, as a Bitcoin developer, a core developer, say, hey, we're going to patch this bug that gets rid of ordinals. Well, that's going to impact their bottom line. And we know that money talks. So, some of the guys that support ordinals come to them with a proposal like, hey, we want to make a fork that keeps these ordinals, and you will make a lot of money if you support our fork. Guess which fork they're going to support? They're going to support the ordinals fork. So I think there's a decent amount of big pools that would actually support the Bitcoin fork, and there could be a hash war once again. Now, BSV conveniently lost that hash war without any real competition because no one really supported BSV besides Calvin Ayre, Craig Wright, and his group. But this time, it's going to be very different because the financial incentive for them to actually keep ordinals will be massively large. Now, they will make the argument that you don't want to censor Bitcoin, and they can do whatever transaction they want. But this is really affecting the performance of the chain, which is already really bad in terms of performance. And this was never really programmed in originally. It was just a bug that they didn't fix and people exploited it, and now they're finally fixing the bug. So the chain was never meant to have this feature anyways. And as people understood it back from 2013, it wouldn't have this feature, and it was supposed to be for transactions. Now, I'm not a Bitcoin purist by any definition. If Bitcoin can handle thousands of TPS, I would no doubt support ordinals, but the fact is Bitcoin can't handle thousands of TPS. It can't even really handle 20 TPS right now. So adding something that would take its transactions down by a factor of 3 or 4 is obviously a very, very bad idea. So I'm actually on the side of the so-called purists this time because I want Bitcoin to actually function at least for another 15 years or so until something can probably overtake it or crypto can decouple from it, because I think this would cause problems much, much sooner than I had expected. I mean, I expected problems to arise around maybe 2020, 2038, 2040, but this could do this much, much earlier by making the Bitcoin blockchain utterly unusable. And like I said, I don't know if you can transit all this to Lightning or not. In fact, I don't really think that's a solution. Without that being a solution, you just have a clunker of a Bitcoin blockchain that really can't process any transactions because like 1 or 2 ordinals are taking up all the blocks. So there's like practical usability of Bitcoin versus financial incentive of people that are with with mining pools and people that are actually trading ordinals. Now, obviously BRC 20 started because people got jealous looking at ERC 20, and they're looking at what, Bitcoin needs to be able to do this stuff as well. But Bitcoin was never made to do all this stuff. Ethereum was actually made to do this stuff. It was never built to scale. Bitcoin was point blank never intended to do any of this stuff, and it's not built for it. There's no native smart contracts on it. It's not structured in the way, and the TPS is even worse than Ethereum, and this stuff isn't really made to go on to layer 2. Not the ordinals anyways. Because remember, NFTs, they're not stored on, the data for NFTs is actually not stored on chain, only the transactions. Whereas the data for ordinals is actually stored on chain, and that's the main difference. And that's going to be a big breaker for Bitcoin. So, I'm just afraid that half the pools are going to support ordinals and half the pools aren't. Or even most of the pools will actually support ordinals, and there'll be a big split in the chain. If that happens during the bull run, that could be the thing that brings us down. Now, one of 2 things could possibly happen. If that happens, crypto could actually just pivot and follow another coin like Ethereum. I think Ethereum would probably then be the next most obvious choice if that happened to Bitcoin. Or we could just have a big breakdown in price, and it could be a really bad hash war for the next couple of months. And this time, I was pretty sure when BSV and BCH came out that BTC would eventually win. But I actually am not sure who would actually win this war, because there will be a lot of financial incentive for a lot of people to actually switch to ordinals. And outside of that, there's a lot of people that want Bitcoin to actually have more functionality than it does now. And those people are going to go with the ordinals too. And that's a big part of the Bitcoin community. I don't really know which way the pools are going to run, because like I said, there's such a huge financial incentive for them to actually support the ordinals part of the chain. And if the Bitcoin core team ends up losing the war, do they just abandon the Bitcoin, their Bitcoin development? Will they actually come onto the ordinals development, or will they just abandon Bitcoin development altogether? And that could be devastating for Bitcoin and the crypto industry as well. There is a lot of unanswered questions here. And there is a big possibility of a split, and a split that might actually hurt Bitcoin and hurt the overall crypto community. And don't think if you're invested in altcoins, you're going to get away from this, because we all know that Bitcoin affects the price of altcoins. And if Bitcoin splits and has a big drop off, then altcoins will too. I know a lot of us are looking towards a big bull run, and that's why I'm bringing this issue up. And hopefully the Bitcoin community can find a way to resolve it without splitting, because I think this would actually be a very, very devastating split, not just for the Bitcoin maxis, but for crypto overall. So, that's what I'm saying right now. I'm saying that like people need to watch the space. People need to watch like what's going on with this infighting in Bitcoin, because there is a bit of infighting definitely right now. I mean, the Bitcoin blockchain is slowing down. It's taking at least half an hour, maybe even an hour or more to transact Bitcoin right now. And during the bull run, it'll be several times worse. And the transaction fees are going to go way up, because I don't know how much you could actually layer off to layer 2 or at all, because the stuff is actually on chain. Like all the data is essentially on chain for ordinals. So, I know Ordi's gone up, and people who bought Ordi are definitely going to support ordinals. So you see like more and more people coalescing behind what's supposed to be the side fork in ordinals. And that's going to cause a lot of trouble because of the split in support there will be. The purists versus, the people that are profiting off of ordinals. And I think it'll be a really bad fight for not only Bitcoin, but all of crypto. So I'm not really sure what you think about Bitcoin and ordinals. Should they be allowed? Should they patch the bug? I personally think they should patch the bug to at least make Bitcoin look like it has like some semblance of usability. But right now, I think the money is talking the other way. And this could be very devastating for the crypto bull run overall, so I hope it does not happen. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.